Good morning and welcome to review of My Stepmom's Daughter is My Ex. We're now on episode 11, by the way. And now, last week, there was a few moments going on with Teen Yume trying to figure out what's her feelings towards Mizuto, and it still hasn't. Now we in this episode where we're almost towards the end. Because when fall comes, fall anime shows are going to be the most dominant course of this. It's going to change the landscape of 2022. So with one more episode left down the road, My Stepmom's Daughter is My Ex is one of those shows you got to recommend for those who into domestic girlfriend or those kind of comedy type of kiss ex sis vibe. But nevermore, we are now in the family summer episode of this. And this episode had a lot of things, especially with Mizuto. So without further ado, let's get right to it with My Stepmom's Daughter is My Ex. Okay, so it's a family vacation, and this is kind of one of those things where it's towards the summer. The summer's ending, so, we get to see Mizuto's Mizuto's relatives, and we got to introduce two new characters into this. One of them is Madoka and Chikuma, visiting their uncles. That's their second cousin, uncle, grandchildren's second cousin. So it's like a family reunion. When you go to family reunions, it's kind of, they'll say this is my aunt's second on my mother's side or anything like that. So it's kind of confusing, but we got to introduce two new characters. And Madoka, she's very friendly, very ongoing, very outspoken, doesn't care. Like, she's very outspoken. Not only that, she just hugs Mizuto, and Yume gets jealous of that. Now I get it. Yume has jealous every time doesn't matter who's relative to Mizuto or anything like that, or the friend, but still she gets jealous so freaking quick. So jealous quick. Because she's just now, she's thinking like, oh, that's her first love. Now you see Mizuto doesn't care. Now, you may see in Mizuto why and how he is. You gotta admit Mizuto's having a hard time as well. You gotta admit. Mizuto looks plain like he doesn't give a shit, but he actually does. If you go back, if you look at it, everything that happened after his breakup with Yume, and this episode had it, like, seeing how we seen that the father had worked really hard being a single parent to look after him. And not only that, his grandma, his cousins, and his aunt, they were all looking out for Mizuto. They were all looking out for him. Having a single parent and lost his mom, and it's very frustrating. It's very hard for him. It's very hard to see how he goes through, but yeah, that's how it is. Now, besides Madoka being all friendly with Yume, with all the fan service, taking off their clothes and going to swimming, all that stuff, the biggest impact in that episode was actually Mizuto reading the book of his great granddad's autobiography. He reads that every year. Like, the first time he read it, he cried. First time he read it, he cried. And then as the years go on, it's like a tradition. Like, he reads it every single year. Yume found him and decides, like, here, read it. Read the book. You're going to love it. Now, the biography of Mizuto's great-granddad is all about, it's all about his life that happened during the war and the girl he fell in love with. Okay, that kind of thing. Now, we get scenes of Yume reading the book. As she's reading the book, she started crying. A tear went down on the page, and then she saw that dry tear that's on the same page that young Mizuto. That he was reading at the time when he was a kid. He was reading as a kid. He cried. So when Yume read it, she also cried. So it's like, yeah. So to sum the great granddad's biography, it's about the girl that he fell in love with, and that she was selfish. reading the story, reading his story is like Yume is now dealing with the situation that he was in. So he's like, I've been selfish. I've been doing this. And like she finally understands. She finally admitted the fact that, okay, I can't stop being jealous all the time. I gotta admit defeat. I gotta stop. I gotta stop. I can't just keep pushing him. Sorry. I can't just keep pushing him. So like, okay, I gotta take it. So you gotta love Madoka being all kind, having this plan to have them together. You're like, because Yume wants to know what was his first love. What was his first love? Now she thinking like, oh, his first love is kind of Madoka. I mean, his first love has got to be her. So, yeah. So, I know Madoka's kind of like the cuckoo at times, but having him and Yume stuck together just to fix a light bulb. I mean, even he ain't that dumb. He knows what's going on. Like, yeah, he knows. All right, what you want to say? I'm right here. Now Yume's all crying. Like, she remembering everything that's happening in the past. The times that he spent. And there were some moments that was sad, especially the parts like, if only we would have spent time on Valentine's Day. If only we would have spent time on Christmas. If only we spent time during the school festival. And you got this, and you got to see them, like, that would have been the case. That would have been like, if it was Christmas, we both exchanged gifts. Valentine's Day, we shared chocolates together. Going to school festival, holding hands. We got to see what it was like if they were stayed as a couple. But Mizuto is all like, let's just go back to the past and fix this, like that. And that's kind of opened up her, and she started crying. Now, you gotta love Mizuto honesty, despite how he is. Like, sure, he may be dull and all, like, just reading a book, don't even care. I mean, just because of that, I get it. But he is a kind guy. He is. He's ready to move on. And he's ready to move on. He accept, the moment you accept that you've broken up, you move on. Sure, you might have feelings. Sure, in real life, people have feelings for their ex. I get that. But once they said it's over, it's over. Mizuto can accept that. So at the end of the part when he's like, what's your first love? And that moment he's like, she always smiling, all that stuff, always laughing. Because before that happened, she was mentioning about how Madoka is always laughing and Yume laughed too. But in that moment after Yume laughed, he said, my first girlfriend, my first love was she laughed. She's just like you. So so if you think about that, that was his first love. His first love was Yume. I mean, obviously, but still, just to say like, oh, she always smiled and laughed. And when Yume smiled and laughed, it was like, that was you, Yume. That's you. That's you. Now, here's the thing. Now, I get that this episode didn't pack a punch. But this episode this episode alone teaches you about moving on. Acceptance. Part of life. Like, just accept reality. Like, that's what Yume is now facing. Yume is now accepting the fact that my ex-boyfriend is my stepbrother. 2, I have to accept the fact that, regardless of everything we have done in the past, I gotta move on. And you know how people say the past is the past. And sometimes past may come up and bite you in the ass, or the past may come up to the present. So that's that. But he is like, Yume finally accepting everything that she has done from the first episode up till now. She finally accepting that she was selfish. She was jealous of everything that comes around, any girl that comes to him. And then now that it is said and done, she's ready to move on. Mizuto already moved on. Now Yume accepted. Now she's moving on as well. Now I get it. Now we all know they weren't gonna do it. Yeah, they hugged, but it's not like they were gonna do it anyway. I mean, if you want to see something like that, go watch Domestic Girlfriend, and then you'll see it. But still, it was all. It was just like it was like it's like one of those things where you like let it out. Just express your feeling. Just go with the flow and just say what you gotta say. Because this is the one time, this is a chance that you got it. This is the one time you have to say something, otherwise it's over. And just like this episode when Yume finally admit things and the rights and wrong that she did over the course of these episodes, she finally admitted it. So props for Yume's finally being open and accepting reality in the face. So next week is the last episode of my stepmom's daughter's Max. I look forward for next week's episode of it, and I'm pretty sure that the ending is going to be somewhat like to a point where, they're going to go back to arguing like always, like step siblings will do, but it is what it is. So stay tuned for next week.